Hello friends, welcome to Code Sutra. Let's solve LeetCode problem number 137, single number 2. In this problem, we are given an array where every number is occurring thrice except for one number. If we take the first example, 2 is occurring thrice but only 3 is occurring one time. So that will be our answer. Similarly, in the second case, every number, that is 5 and 3, are occurring three times, but 6 is occurring just one time. So 6 will be answer in this case, and in this case 3 will be answer. So how do we find it? We can use hash map and hash set, but I will not be discussing that approach in this video. I will be directly diving into the bit manipulation approach. So whenever you come to bit manipulation approach, the idea is to just think in terms of bits. Instead of thinking in terms of number, let's just think in terms of bit. So this is the binary representation of 3, 5, 3 and 3. So if you look, instead of considering all the bits, let's first consider the bit at the first position. That is, all of them are equal to 1. Right. So now what we will be doing is we will be using two variables. One is ones and the other one is twos. What does this indicate? This one will have all the numbers that have occurred just once, and this twos will include all the numbers that have occurred twice. And if any one of them have occurred more than thrice or equal to thrice, we will be removing from both of them. Right. So how do we accomplish this? Before that, we should be knowing two operations. One is the XOR operation and one is the negation operation. What is XOR operation? The XOR of any number with itself, that is zeros or 0 or zeros or ones or 1, will be equal to 0. And the XOR of 1 and 0 will be equal to 1. So this is the condition with XOR. The other condition, the other topic is negation. What is negation? The reverse representation. For example, we have the number 5 that is equal to 101. But if you reverse all the bits, that is 0, 1, 0, this will be the negation of any particular number, and this is the XOR. So if you know these two concepts, we can solve this. So what is the idea with XOR is any number XORed with itself equal to 0. So how can we use this concept is, if you have any number that is occurring twice, we will make it as 0. The other idea is, if you XOR any number with 0, you will have the same number. So these are the two ideas that we'll be using to solve the problem. Let's consider bitwise again. We identified that all the last bits or the first bits are equal to 1. So how do we add it to 1? The idea to add it to 1 is very simple. We will XOR it with 1. Right, we will XOR it with the same number that is equal to a. So once you are XORed with it, the idea is this number should not be present in twos. Why? Because if it has already occurred twice, we should not again be considering in ones, but we should be removing from twos. So the key idea is, if the number has occurred only once, we will be adding it to 1. However, if the number has occurred twice, we will remove it from ones and add it to twos. And if it has occurred thrice, what we will be doing is, we will be removing from twos also. So we will be back at where we begin from. So this is what we are doing it, to add it to the first one. But we should also identify that it should not be present in twos. So we are taking the negation of twos. So what was twos initially? Twos was 0, 0, 0. So we will take the negation, that is equal to 1, 1, 1. So when you do with 1 and 1, our ones will be 1 in the first case. That is, we have processed this number and ones will be 1. What will be twos? Twos will be again 0. Why? Because we have it already in ones, right? So if you have already in ones, there is no meaning in adding it to twos. So that is what we will be doing. So the two operations that we will be doing here is these two operations. Ones is equal to ones XORed with the number and negation of twos. And what will twos be equal to? We will XOR it with the number, but on the other hand, again we have to check this is not present in ones. So that is what these two are the main operations that we'll be using. So let's identify for this particular number what will happen in the second iteration. In the second iteration, since we already have 1, what is 1 XOR 1? It is already equal to 0. So this, whatever this is, it doesn't matter because 0 and anything will be 0. So our ones become 0. But here we had 0, but zeros or a or zeros or 1 will become 1 and will be ending with 1 1 1. So in this case also we will be having 1 in the first place. Now we have also processed this element. Then once we process for the third time, since this is present in 2, our number 0 will not be changed from 0 to 1. Why? Because this is already 1. Our units place will be 0. 0 and anything will be 0. So our 0 will not change, but it will be 0. And this is this third operation. And our 2's operation, 1 will be changed to 0. Now 1's is also 0, 2's is also 0, and we have processed this third number. So what is the key idea here is, once, if the number has just occurred once, we added it beautifully to once. Then again, if it has occurred twice, we added it to 2. And if it is occurring thrice, we removed it from 2's also. Then finally, though this is the number which is adding, we are not caring about which number represent which, but we are just caring about the final bit. Similarly, you can do for this bit also, that is 1 0 1 and 1. What happens here is, 1 has occurred thrice and 0 has just occurred one time. So our bit will be 0 here and we got 1 from here. And finally, what will be the last bit? It is again 0 0 and 0. So our last bit will be 1. So what is this number? This number is the representation of 5, which is actually our answer. So if we think from bit instead of thinking from the entire number, and this operation will be helping us to identify which number is the number which has occurred not thrice but just only once. Now, I definitely know this is a tricky problem and not so intuitive problem. Only if you have solved problems similar to this, you will be identifying this pattern. So there are few other problems ranging from easy to difficult that is there in LeetCode. And we have a dedicated Telegram group where we'll be discussing about the solution for this, or if you have any doubts or question related to this question, you can also discuss in the group. So I have mentioned the link in the description. And finally, I will be discussing the code related to this problem. The code is very simple. First, we have two integers, ones which will store the elements that has occurred once, and twos which will store the elements that have occurred twice. And what we are doing here is, the first operation is we are XORing and we are checking it is not present in twos, that is it has not already occurred twice. And here twos, what we are trying to do is, if it has already occurred in once, if it is there in once, there is no meaning to add it to twos. So that is what we are checking here. And finally we'll be returning once, which is our final answer. Thank you for watching the video. Please do like, share and subscribe.